Hey guys, this is Josh with Future Cell Phone Computer Repairs, and today I'm going to be showing you how to replace a battery in an iPhone 7. So the first things you'll need, obviously you'll need a replacement battery. This is a quality OEM replacement battery that I got from mobilecentrics.com. You're going to need a pentalobe screwdriver. I've got an iFixit toolkit with all of the screwdrivers that I'll need. But you could find these online. Usually you can get little kits, cheap little tools that come with these. Anyway, it's just like a little 5-point screwdriver that opens up the bottom screws on this iPhone and most iPhones. You're also going to need a tri-point screwdriver, which you may not know. On iPhone 7s, they changed some of the internals to where you have to have this proprietary type screwdriver that you can only get from Apple. Well, you can get it from other places, but it's like Apple proprietary. Anyway, you're also going to need a just tiny little Phillips screwdriver. So first things first, you're going to take your pentalobe screwdriver. Oh, also one more thing, it's not necessary, but it's nice to have a little magnetic mat. That way you can keep all your screws in place and organized when you're taking it apart. So first things first, you're going to take this pentalobe screwdriver, and at the bottom of your iPhone next to the charging port on both sides there's these two little pentalobe screws. So you just start off by taking out both of those screws and just sit it over here on the magnet mat. There, those are out. Now I also have this little pry tool. Some people can just get under there with their nails and get it. I'd also recommend getting a pry tool. This is just the default iFixit one that came with the toolkit. You can get the iSesmo or iSesme, whatever it is. I personally think that they're a bit easier to work with, but for right now this is going to do just fine. And if you'd like, you can use some heat. I've got this Wagner hot air gun, because around the edges of this iPhone there is adhesive. Now I don't think this one's been taken apart before, but this is one that I had purchased, so I'm not 100% sure. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on some heat. Just put this on the lowest setting and just go around the bottom edges. Keep this about, I'd say about 5 or 6 inches away from the phone. You don't want it to get too hot or you'll burn your LCD, and you don't want that to happen. So I'm just going to heat this up just a little bit, give it about 10 seconds. 10 to 15 seconds is probably good. If it's too hot to touch, then you've probably gotten it a little bit too hot. So that ought to be enough. Feels okay to me. So you're going to go along the edge of the glass in the frame of the phone, and very gently down here you're going to just kind of wiggle in your pry tool. So you got to be kind of gentle with it. You don't want to press too hard, and you don't want to press on the glass or you're going to break it. Alright, so we got that under, and then I'm just going to slowly go along the bottom edge here, and don't put the tool like too deep into the phone, and especially around the corners you want to be careful. Alright, it slipped out. There we go. So just slowly go around there. Alright, and that should be open enough. I'm going to use my nails because it's just a little bit easier for me to do it this way. And just slide it along the edge there. As you can see, that slowly starts to lift up along the frame of the phone. You want to get the other side too. There we go. And now here at the top there's some clips that sort of hold it in. So what I always do, I usually just start off right about here And if it gets too cool for you, then just don't be afraid to apply a little bit more heat, because heat's going to be your friend in this. Alright. You just want to carefully go along that top part and break the seal of that adhesive. And slowly go along. Just pry it up a little bits at a time. This is the part that you don't really need to rush through. I'm going to apply a little bit more heat here. Alright, I got that warmed up a little bit. That should melt that adhesive. Make it a little bit easier for me to get this out of here. I'm going to use my nail now. One thing you should note, you kind of want this to go down and then lift up here at the top. And these, when the screen comes off, they sort of unfold like a book. It's alright. Which I'll show you that here in a second. Alright, I'm not liking this iFixit little spudger too much, so I'm going to go grab my iSesno. These are a little bit thinner materials. They make it a lot easier to sort of just wedge this part out. Alright, I can feel that starting to lift right there. I just got to sort of gently pop it up from that side. Alright, there, that's out. So the next step, you want to be mindful of this, is you want to unfold it from the left side to the right side, like so. Alright, just like that. Alright, so once I'm inside the phone, the first things that I do notice is that this phone has been taken apart before. And I can tell because this is a non-genuine Apple display, and then this is an aftermarket battery as well. Now, these parts are from a company called Mobile Defenders, and I could tell because this has a little shield up here. Let's see if you can see that. Right there at the top, there's a little shield sticker that says Select, and all Mobile Defenders parts come with that. Now, a few issues that were going on with this display: the 3D touch didn't seem to work, and the battery was having issues. So my best guess is that it's a defective display, and this is just a worn out aftermarket battery. So for now, we're just going to be replacing the battery. Later on, I'll make another video about how to replace the LCD, which it's just basically taking it apart, just a few extra steps. So now that we have the phone open, we're going to go ahead and switch over to our tri-point screwdriver. You might also see it referred to as Y000. So I just went and switched the bit over to that, and there's going to be, let me show you, 4 screws on this panel here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And those are all going to take that tri-point screwdriver. So I'm going to go ahead and just, it looks like am I using the right one? Looks like this bit might be a little bit too big. Let me switch over to a smaller one. Pretty sure I've got a smaller one right here. Yeah. Alright, there's one. I'm going to sit it on the magnet mat. And when you place these on the mat, it's good to sort of place them in the same order where you took them out. So that way you kind of have an idea of how everything's going to go back together in the end. My God, this is not a very good bit here. Note to self, get a better Y000 screwdriver, because this one does not seem to be cutting it. Just gonna unfold this a bit more. Yeah, and there, just hold it straight down. That seems to catch it. And of course, you don't really want to push hard on this, because right underneath there's the logic board of the phone. You don't want to do anything to damage that. If that gets damaged at any point during your repair, then you basically just took a cheap repair and turned it into a really expensive one. There's this one screw right here, I think maybe a bit stripped. Yeah. Alright, so I'm not having much luck getting that one out, which this does happen sometimes. Sometimes there are strip screws, and these are super tiny. It's a point of frustration, but we're hanging in there. Alright, so that screw does not want to go out. So gently what I'm going to do, I'll see if you can see this. This screw that goes right about here is stuck. It's totally stripped out. But all the others, all 3 other screws holding that in are there. So I'm just going to put one finger down and kind of bend this panel up. And that's not going to put any pressure on that board there. And that way I'll be able to actually get to the connectors that are underneath. So I'm going to bend this up some more so you guys can see it better. So I'm going to slide that backwards some too for you. Alright, so this looks pretty janked right now, but we had to do that with that screwdriver, so it's not going anywhere. So next step, you're going to want to disconnect the battery, which your battery is right here, and it plugs in right there. So that little connector, we're just going to gently take our fingernail. It helps to kind of hold this like a book. Gently take your finger, and just pop that one up. And then you've got two more connectors. I'll see if you can't see that. That are going to your LCD display right here. They come down right there and they connect here and here, like right under it. So what I'm going to do is just gently get under there with my nail, just very gently. You don't want to go too far, you'll strip up the connectors, and then pop those up. Now we have two more screws up here that we got to take out, because there is a cable, we call it the camera flex, that's going up to this ear speaker assembly on the LCD. So I'm just gonna sit this back, switch over to my Phillips screwdriver. Just thought I had it sitting out here. It ran away. Uh-oh. Oh, here it is. Just switch over to the Phillips screwdriver. Just unfold that again. And then just take out those two right there at the top. Set them down on the magnet mat. See if I can't get you a point to see that up there. Alright, and then that little connector there just lifts right out, and that's what it looks like. So I can't get that in focus. It's just this little panel. I'm going to sit it right over here on the magnet mat, right next to the two screws. Same thing with this camera flex. You don't want to bend it or damage it. So you're just going to take your nail, gently get under there, and unclip it. And then all the connections to your screen are disconnected. So we're just going to sit our LCD display off to the side. Next step, which normally, this is what I was hoping for, there'd be two little plastic tabs. Well, it's more like a rubberized adhesive tabs down here at the bottom of the battery, and you would just take some tweezers and get under that and sort of slowly peel back along the edges. But since this was an aftermarket battery replaced probably at I'm not sure, some other repair shop, what they did and what most people do is just put adhesive underneath the battery. So the only way to get this battery out is to try and pry it loose. So you can use your iSesamo, you could use little plastic spudgers. But what I usually do is just start at the bottom corner here. See, down here is the bottom of the phone, the bottom corner of your battery. Just work it in along the edge of the battery and the frame. And see if you can't lift that battery up any. Now you do want to be really careful here not to puncture this battery, because if it punctures, it's right there, it's starting to lift up. Let's see, I'll show you that a little better. If this battery gets punctured, then, well, it would be bad. It would cause a lot of smoke, most likely. It could explode. Now, over 4 years I've been working with phones, computers, I haven't seen a battery just straight explode. I've seen plenty of them get punctured and just go up in smoke, but we don't want this to blow up or anything crazy. So I got that lifted up. I'm going to take like the back end of some tweezers here and work that under there and just sort of lift that adhesive up And you can hear it. Let's see if you can hear it over here. Sort of peeling up. Alright. Come on. Alright. If I do that anymore, I could puncture it. So I'm just going to sort of pull with my hand now, because I've got it lifted up a little bit. And just sort of hold the frame. You can hear that pop, and this came loose. And then there you can see on the back, if you see that, that's where they put 2 strips of adhesive. So we've got our battery out. We've got our aftermarket, or our, we got our aftermarket battery out, and then we've got our genuine OEM battery we're going to replace it with. So give me 1 second, I'll be right back. I'm going to go grab some adhesive we can put back there to hold that battery in place. Okay, we've got our adhesive. This is called Tessa tape. It works very well. You can use it for all sorts of things with mobile repairs, be it holding in batteries or LCD screens. I'm just going to cut out a couple strips here. It's also worth noting, if you can get a battery replacement that has the original, and I'll show you, the original strips of adhesive that go on the back, which some of them come with it pre-applied, which I'll show you here. See, here's a battery for an iPhone SE, for example. Then on the back they have that original type of adhesive pre-applied, and then down here, like I was saying earlier, that little, I guess it's kind of like a rubbery plastic material. You could pull on it, and what that does, it sort of pulls that adhesive loose. But these OEM batteries don't come with that, so I'm just going to use the Tessa tape, and that'll do. So we're just going to put our Tessa tape, 2 little strips just like so. Make sure that's pressed down nice. And now we're going to take some tweezers and peel up that non-adhesive layer on top. Just like so. Next step, you sort of do everything in reverse at this point. You take your battery, your replacement battery, and what I'm going to do is just sort of line that connector up. And you don't really want to connect it just yet, so I'm just lining it up right now and then pressing it down. And the reason you don't want to connect it is because you don't want any power going through the top of the board here or the bottom when there isn't an LCD screen plugged in. If there does, which I used to do it like this, I used to just plug it in straight to the board and I never really had issues, but there's a chance it could pop a fuse on there or do some damage to the main board, and you don't want that to happen. So you're just going to keep it unplugged for now and just sit it down in there, make sure it's aligned with the connector so you can plug it in later on in the repair. So you're going to put your LCD back on, and I usually sort of angle this top part 90 degrees so that way this connector right here can bend down and plug in nice and easily. And you'll be able to feel it sort of snap into place. It's a bit sometimes a bit of audible feedback from that you can kind of just feel it snap in with you when you press your finger down over it. And then you're going to get those bottom two connectors. Alright, that's done. So now that those are plugged back in, I'm just going to take the battery, plug it in. I'm going to sort of straighten out this connector here. And then screw the panels down. It helps to have like 5 hands when you do this. Alright. So I got 2 screws in that one. Alright, our panels are all screwed on that bottom one. I'm going to go ahead and try and turn it on real quick just to see if that battery's got any charge. You can see the Apple logo, so that's a good sign. We're going to wait, make sure the device comes on completely, do a few quick functions tests, and then we're going to finish putting it back together. Now you can usually know right away if you've done something wrong. If this phone was functioning, as in it would come on and different things would work before, and then afterwards it sort of gets stuck in an Apple logo. Particularly, now this happens on a lot of iPhones, but particularly on an iPhone 7, the first thing you'd want to check is the condition of this ear speaker flex cable. Remember that camera flex? Because if that's not plugged in all the way, or if it's damaged, it can cause the phone to not come on. It could cause it to get stuck in an Apple logo, or do like a boot loop where it would boot up to the Apple logo and then just shut off. But in our case, everything is on and it came on fairly quickly. So the next thing I'm going to do is just slide up from the bottom and check the cameras. Now you can see there that our back camera is working and the front camera is working just fine as well. So that's all good to go. And of course you sort of just want to slide around the screen. A lot of people will sort of press and hold on an app until they all wiggle, and then you can sort of slide it around, and that'll give you a good idea if all the parts of the LCD are in good condition. Alright, so that seems to be working just fine. I'm going to go into the settings here. I'm going to swipe down to sounds. And I'm going to make sure the speakers are working. Sounding good. Now if you have service on your phone, this one has no SIM card, so they don't have any service, then you can go ahead and make a phone call and test out this proximity sensor up here at the top. While you're in a phone call, that sensor should cause your screen to go black, shut off while you're talking. That way your face doesn't hit anything on the screen. You also want to check, make sure your ear speaker is working, so you'd just sort of hold it up and sort of talk, and whoever you were calling, have them talk. Make sure that you both can hear each other properly. So far it looks like everything is just fine on this phone, so I'm going to go ahead and just turn it off. Just slide this back open just a little bit, and what do we have here? It looks like we had a runaway screw. Now where did that come from? I see. It came from the side right here where the LCD has a little shield, so I'm just going to screw that back in. Got the right screwdriver here. Just screw that back in. I'd say that was probably just a little bit loose from where the screen was replaced previously, and we sort of wiggled it out. I'm just going to gently tighten that up. So that's back in place. We're going to take our little shield for the camera flex here at the top. I'm going to kind of hold it down with my thumb and pick up one of these Phillips screws right here. Make sure it's positioned right on the screwdriver. And this is going to be really tricky to see here. And I'm holding one end down with my thumb, and then I got that screwing in with the other. So that's got that in position. Got our secondary screw, and we are almost done here. We're going to put that at the other part of that ear speaker or camera flex cable shield. Alright, so everything's screwed back together. Next thing we're going to do is fold this over like so, and then to get this back in place, I don't know if you can see this with this lame camera here, but here at the top there are some clips, and to get those in you sort of hold it like this, angle it a little bit, and then it slides down into the top of the phone. Now you want to be careful here when you're clipping this back in. You want to go from the top and gently push it back down in towards the bottom. You don't want to push too hard. If you feel anything obstructing it, do not keep pushing. You'll break the glass, you'll break the LCD, you'll be stuck with the damaged screen that does not work. Once it's back together, you've just got those two little pentalobe screws. Switch back to the pentalobe screwdriver. Oh, make sure not to drop your screwdriver on the phone. I'm sure it's fine. I've actually seen that break screens before. However, there was a customer at one of the old places I used to work. They were handing me I think it was a Galaxy S5 while I was working on a iPhone 6s, and the phone slipped while like in the middle of them handing it to me, and the S5 just dropped smack down onto the middle of that LCD of the 6s and just busted the screen. So I ended up having to replace an extra screen that day. It was not, I mean, you don't want to end up having to buy extra parts. You want to save money. That's the whole point of repairing the phone yourself. Alright, so everything's back together. All the screws are fastened down. Just peer around the edges, make sure everything is sort of flush. And then we're going to just turn it back on, do a final test, and it's coming on. Everything should be good to go. Alrighty guys, like I said, my name is Josh. I'm here at Future Cell Phone and Computer Repairs. I'm going to try and do at least one of these videos a week. If this is something that you like to see, you know, feel free to like my Facebook page, like my YouTube, subscribe, all that jazz, whatever you want to do. And I hope to help you out again in the future. Thanks again, guys. Y'all have a good one.